How much energy are you spending explaining yourself? Not to other people, to yourself. Building the case of why what you are doing makes sense. Finding the practical justification. Making sure the reason sounds acceptable, sounds logical, sounds like something a reasonable person would do. And underneath all that explaining, there is something simpler, something that does not need a case built around it. What you were made for. It was always enough. You just kept explaining it instead of living it. Thank you for being here. This is This Tree and Me. I am Corey J. Riggs. This is a place where self-leadership gets built through story, reflection, and real conversation. Listen, allow, follow. The LAF Method, that's how we do it. If this resonates, please hit that subscribe button. It's free. It helps so much more than you can ever imagine. Share, comment, bring others along for this ride. Let's grow the community. Let's grow the conversation. Let's keep showing up for each other. Now let's get into it. There is something that happened recently that I have been sitting with, and I've been wanting to share it with you all. And it's not because I have it figured out. It's because it arrived in the middle of an ordinary morning. It arrived in the chest in a way that it had never before. And I have not been the same since that morning. I was writing about my business, the money, what it needs to look like, what the numbers need to be, getting the goal set, the milestones, the basic structures. And somewhere in the middle of all that, a recognition arrived, and it stopped everything. I had been using the money as a functional justification, a way to make the path acceptable, a way to make the spiritual life make sense to a world that might call it weird or odd or not practical enough. And then mid-sentence, I do not need to justify who I am. And for the first time, I felt that. I've understood it. I've intellectually understood it. I felt it. I've never felt what I just said until I said it. That's where this episode lives. You know what you are here to do. I'm not asking that as a question. I am stating that as a fact. You know. You feel it. It is clear. It is consistent. It is the thing that will not leave you alone no matter how many times you try to redirect yourself towards something more practical. So why do you keep building a case around it? Why attach it to an income? I'm doing this because it will produce an income one day. I'm doing this because I will build an audience. I'm doing this because it'll eventually make sense to the people around me. And the justification is not wrong. those things may absolutely and probably are very true. But when the justification becomes the reason, when the income is why you are doing it, rather than the natural result, the feeling of doing it, something shifts. The doing starts to feel like a transaction. And when it starts feeling like that transaction, I want you to ask yourself, how long can you sustain work that feels like a transaction before you stop showing up for it? Because the work that chose you does not produce results on a schedule. It does not arrive with a business plan attached, and it definitely does not come with a guarantee. It just comes, and it doesn't stop until you either follow it or you don't. That morning, sitting there writing my goals down and what the metrics need to be and what the strategies are and how this needs to look and what this is and overhead and yada, yada, yada. It was amazing. I'm sitting there doing all that, and it's a needed function of a business. We all know this. You can't just fly by the seat of your pants in a business. You have to have metrics. You have to know what your overhead is, what your take-in is, what you need, what you don't, what equipment and whatever your business is, you know what it needs from a structural position. And I've been fighting this for quite a while, knowing I can make money. Money's out there to make for all of us. That's something that we all have to really realize. But in the middle of it, for whatever reason, something came to me and was like, Corey, why are you doing this? Are you doing this for the money? Is that why you're doing all this? And I stopped. And it was like, no. Yes, we all need money. We want money. I want a certain lifestyle. I've worked for a certain lifestyle. And that is important. But why did you quit your job? Why did you leave Tulsa? Why are you chasing all of this? And just justifying the money, because when people ask me what I'm doing, when they find out I'm leaving or I'm moving or I left my job, I tell them what I'm doing. I'm a self-leadership guide. I'm a storyteller. I created a method called the LAF Method. Oh, but understand, there's more to it than that. I'm going to have this business and I'm going to do some AI work and I'm going to do this. And why? I am who I am. I know what I want to be and who I want to be. I know what was called to me. So why do I need to justify it? If it fails, it fails. Who does it hurt? If it doesn't align with somebody, it doesn't align somebody. It doesn't hurt anybody. But why do we feel the need to justify what we're doing when it's following our path, our wants, something that we feel deeply we want, when it's just not a natural function or a natural trajectory in life or a comment or something that your friends are going to look at you and go like, what? They either love you or they don't. They either support you or they don't. They'll either be behind you or they won't. But the one person that matters and the only one that matters is you. That's it. And that came to me that morning so heavily. Do not lose your foundation. Do not lose who you are and why you are doing this. And you don't need to justify it to anybody. Hey, I want to stop right here because I know someone watching this right now is doing exactly this. You have something you are here to do, and you have been attaching a practical reason to it so it sounds acceptable. Not to other people, to yourself. What is underneath that justification? What does the heart already know that the mind keeps arguing with? Those are two different conversations. And confusing them is what eventually makes the work feel hollow. When the justification becomes the reason, the doing starts to feel like a transaction. Transactions don't sustain the work that chose you. So the money matters. The income matters. Building something sustainable matters. And none of that is the foundation. So you ask, what is? Great question. The foundation is what was there before the business plan, before the income goals, before the content strategy and the audience and the platform, or whatever your business or whatever your path is. The foundation is the entire reason that work exists at all. And here's a question that's worth sitting with. If the income stopped tomorrow, if the audience disappeared, or your customers went away, if nobody around you understood what you were doing, you know where I'm going. Would you keep going? If the answer is yes, that yes is the foundation then. Whatever you said yes to, that's your foundation. If the answer is no, it's not a failure. It's simply information. It means the foundation has not been fully built yet. And the building starts with naming what the true reason actually is. Because if the foundation is not solid, if the true reason is buried underneath layers of justification, the work will eventually stop holding. Not because the strategy was wrong and not because your execution was poor. Because you were building on top of something that was not actually yours. The foundation is the reason you cannot stop. Even when the money is not there, even when the audience, the customers are not there, even when nobody around you fully understands it yet. That reason, that is what you build on. So for me, when I was sitting with all this and asking myself these things, loud and clear, I am a spiritual being. I want to live in love and service. I want to live to give, to teach, to mentor, to guide. I want to be of use. And even now, as I say that, that just sits. I can almost get a bit emotional when I say it because it's truly where all this comes from and where this started within me. I didn't one day pick this. It chose me. I was just ready to finally open that door and walk through it. I can look back and see points where it's said it before and try to tell me before. I wasn't ready. I'm ready. Willing or not, I'm ready. So I walk, but I don't have to justify it. It's who I am. It's what I am. And it's what I want to give to the world. And nothing else should matter. And for me, it doesn't. So I want to ask you something directly. What is your foundation? Not your goal, not your strategy, and not what you want to build or produce. The reason underneath all of that. The one that does not need a business case attached to it. If you cannot name it right now, that is worth sitting with. Because I promise you, everything you build on top of it is only as solid as that answer. The foundation is the reason you cannot stop, even when nothing is working yet. Build on that. The version of this that is easy to name is explaining yourself to other people. Justifying your choices to people around you. Making sure that everyone understands and that everyone approves and thinks it makes sense. Most people recognize that. I know I did, and I know it's a problem. We all do. That's not rocket science. The version that's harder to catch is the explaining of yourself to yourself. That internal justification, the running case you build in your own mind for why what you are doing is acceptable. It makes sense because it'll eventually produce income. It makes sense because other people have done it. It makes sense because I can point to a strategy. And all of that may and is true. But ask yourself, why do you keep needing to rebuild the case? If the permission was fully given by yourself, if you were truly settled in what you were built for, you would not need to keep arguing for it. The need to keep justifying it to yourself is the signal that something underneath has not been fully settled. You know what you are. You know what you are here to do. You have known it for a long time. Stop explaining it to yourself or anyone else. What lives in your chest does not need your defense. It needs you to follow. And for me, the easiest recognition of this was what I call my date arcs, if you will. June 10th is a date. 2 different years. 1990 was the first, and 2026 was the next. Not purposely thought out that way, not the first time, not the second time, not them combined. August 1st is another date. 2022 is the first. 2026 was the next. Again, same criteria around it. June 10th, 1990, I put myself in treatment. I went to treatment. My mother pushed me. I need to give her that recognition. I've always told it the other way, but I went to treatment. I was sober for the very first day, June 10th, 1990. And then June 10th, 2026 ended up being the day I gave my resignation from work to begin this. It was going to be a different day than that. It just so happened my boss is on vacation. So I wanted to wait till he got back. That's how it ended up being June 10th. August 1st, 2022. I went down to my kitchen, cleaned it out completely, went carnivore, haven't looked back since, feel great about it, very grateful for it. As I decided to do this and was planning and prepping, my house, I got out of it on July 27th. Just worked out that way. Spent some days with family. After that, spent a couple of days making the track here in Albuquerque, and then landed here in Cane Beds, Arizona, where I'm going to spend the next 3 months on August 1st, 2026. And not planned, just walked. Not planned, just certainty. Ignorant certainty is what I call it. I had no idea. I just felt it and I did it. I felt it and I walked it. I didn't explain it to anybody. I didn't justify it to anybody. I did it. And following your path, I wish it were that simple, because I promise you getting up to that point was not easy. After that point was not easy. But the proof is there for me. The proof is there for you. You can find moments in your life you did the same thing. No justification. No making excuses or reasons. Just doing it because you knew you needed it for you. What lives in the chest, guys, it does not need your defense. It needs your follow. And what came to me through all of this, when you stop explaining yourself, something inside gets very quiet. And at first, I wish I could say it was the good kind of quiet, but at first, it's the uncomfortable kind. Because the explaining has been doing something. It has been filling the space between you and the work that you were actually built for. And when that explaining stops, that space opens up. And what is in it? It's just you. And the pull that will not leave you alone. And the question of whether you are going to follow it without the justification attached. And that is a very vulnerable place to stand. And it is the only place from which anything real ever gets built. Because when the work comes from that place, without the justification, without the transaction, without the need for it to make sense to anyone else first, it carries something that work built, that the work that built on justification that never can. It carries the truth of who you actually are. That's what it carries. And that more than a strategy, more than any platform, more than any income goal. That, guys, that is what people feel when they encounter it. And my palms just got sweaty because I'm going to tell the story about the gypsy again. I don't know if I've told you guys yet, but if not, here it is. If it is, maybe a little different twist to it. So, the Gypsy is a coffee house in Tulsa, Oklahoma that I've told myself for a very long time that I'm going to go and do a short story performance. So, I wrote a short story, got it all ready, never went. Prepared, wasn't ready. Oh, that's not the right topic, this and that. And then I was like, fine, write something different. If that's not it, write something different. No more excuses. It was every Wednesday. And I went on the last Wednesday before I left Tulsa. And I'm sitting there reading it, and I've went over it. I know it. I could do it by heart. It was called Ignorant Certainty. And I almost walked out. Then they called my name. You're here, Bubba. Get up. Let's go. Get up there. Start going through the performance. Head goes down, shaking. I can hear my voice fluttering. The lady has to come readjust the mic for me because I'm not speaking into it very clearly. I'm just reading more than I'm performing. I'm not making a lot of eye contact. I know it's not going well. The story's good, but the way I'm delivering it, it just doesn't hit. You know what I mean? But when I get done, they clap, all that, right, really polite and nice. And I sit down and I listen to a couple more, and I'm just shaking. I'm sitting in that chair. I'm like, holy crap, I did it. And if I was just sitting there talking to people, that's one thing. But I'm sharing my life story. That's vulnerable. I don't do well with vulnerability. That's something I work heavily on all the time. But I did it. And I've been telling myself I wanted to do it. I know I need to do it. I know I need to get better at it. So I leave full of anxiety, full of nerves, not knowing what's inside me, what's going to come out. Am I going to break down screaming and crying? Am I going to run to the hills? What am I going to do? And I was smiling. I got in my car. My windows were down. I turned some good music on, singing, taking my time getting home. I was so filled with pride and joy. I'm getting emotional talking about it. I had no idea that's what was going to come out. But I just did it. And I knew that's what I was supposed to do. I knew in that moment, looking at those people, not really looking heavily at them, but their eyes, they were looking at me. I had their attention. I had a message to give. I gave the message. And I knew that's where I was supposed to be, and that's what I'm supposed to do. It was in my chest, and it confirmed it. But I never would have known that if I didn't go and do it. I got the recognition and the true self-justification that is what I'm supposed to do by doing it and being in the middle of it. I want to ask you something, and I want you to sit with it honestly. What would your work look like if it did not need to justify itself? If what you were made for was enough on its own? No income attached, no audience attached, no approval from the people around you attached. What would you do differently tomorrow? Because the answer, that is where the real work lives. Work that comes from what you were built for carries something work built on justification never can. It carries the truth of who you actually are. Okay, so we're at the part of the episode where I like to go over truths, what I call truths. So for those that are new, thank you for being here. For everyone who's a repeat customer, thank you for being here. But the truths are something that as I go over the episode, I put it together, I finalize it, all that. There's things that really resonate a little bit more with me as I go through it all. Here are mine. If you have some that you found during this of yourself, I'd love to hear about them, have a conversation with you. That would be phenomenal. Here are mine. I hope they sit with you. Stop explaining yourself. Not to the people around you and not to the world that might call it impractical or weird or unsustainable or not a real career or X. And not to yourself. What you were made for is the reason. It has always been the reason. And it has always been enough. You have been attaching things to it to make it feel more acceptable, more justifiable, more like something a reasonable person would do. And that attaching is what makes it heavy. Put down the justification. Pick up the follow. For me, I am a spiritual being. I want to live in love. I want to live in service. I want to give and teach and mentor and guide and be of use. That is why I am here. And that is enough. Whatever your version of that is, whatever lives in your chest, underneath all of that explaining, that is enough. It was always enough. Stop explaining it and go live it. All right, so we've come to the end of the episode where we go through some reflections. These are questions that I've built through either my meditation, my journaling, or just the building of this podcast that I've sat with and helped me reflect on getting the answers that I need for this, for myself, and hopefully some things that resonate with you. So here are my reflection questions. If you have some, send them to me. I would love to hear from them. I would love to sit with them and give you my feedback. Here are mine. What am I justifying to myself or to others that does not actually need a justification? What is the foundation underneath my work? The reason I cannot stop even when nothing is working yet. What would I do differently if what I was made for was enough all on its own? And what have I never felt until right now, just from sitting with these questions? What you were made for is enough. And it always was, and it always will be. Stop explaining it and go live it. Thank you again for being here. I so greatly appreciate all of you. Please check if you've subscribed. If not, hit that little button. It's free. It helps us so, so much. I hope it resonates with you. Comment, share it, bring others into the conversation. Let's grow the community. Let's grow the conversation. this work, you are the leader that it is building. Keep showing up for yourself. Everything else follows. This is This Tree and Me. I am Corey J. Riggs. I love you all. Be blessed.